guys, welcome back. So today's video is going to be my 27 and 28 week pregnancy update. I'm currently 29 weeks. If you hear background noise, sorry about that. Like I always say, this is the time I have to film. And trying to get it done. I'm always behind in these. I am 29 weeks and 3 days today, so I don't want to forget anything from the last 2 weeks. Good to know I did not throw up at all during that 2 week period, so yay. My hand numbness did not increase at all. I wore the wrist braces every night as much as I could. I always end up taking them off in the middle of the night, but I usually put them back on if I get woken up, which I've been waking up to pee like 3 or 4 times a night. Pretty normal at this point. I cannot wear my wedding rings anymore. I gave up and I bought a fake ring and it's too big, but I didn't want it to be too small. So my wedding ring is a 7, this is a 9, and it's like turning itself and obviously too big. So I don't know, maybe I'll grow into this one. My feet are swollen, but my swelling is pretty minimal. I did have a doctor's appointment and I was up about, I think 7 or 8 pounds at 28 weeks and 4 days. So that's not too bad. Like I said, I was at 0 breaking even at about the halfway point. So it's my dog. Hi, Penny. Hi, puppy. Do you want to come say hi? Hi, puppy. Come here. Let's see. Oh, there she is. You say hi to the camera? It's been a long time since we showed Penny Dog. She is about 5 years old now. They told us she was a Queensland healer, but she's nowhere near as big. She's was supposed to have been like 40 to 60 pounds. We got her, she was like 6 weeks old. But she's nowhere near that. She's like 20 something pounds. Anyway, probably shouldn't have lifted her, but she's just always tap dancing in the videos, and I feel like if I have a chance to show her, I should. She's wearing a bark collar now. I never thought I'd be the kind of person who put a bark collar on my dog, but she drives you crazy. And I didn't want her waking up the baby, and I don't intend on using it forever, like shocking her. But it also does a vibrate mode and a beeping mode. So like if she gets used to not barking, we'll just give her the beep as like a warning, and then maybe she won't end up needing the vibrating, the shock. But yeah, anyway, if you saw that she was wearing 2 different collars. So I'm still out of breath, and otherwise I'm feeling okay. I did have a period there of several days in a row where I was taking Tylenol or Tylenol PM to sleep, just having trouble getting comfortable or achy or restless legs. It was like always one thing or another, headaches, but they weren't very, very bad. Like I have prescription, medicine for headaches during pregnancy, but it's like the caffeine and Tylenol in one pill. My voice sounds like it's kind of going out. I don't know why it's doing that, but so let me just go over a couple things. I did have an inner ear infection, yay. So I had to take amoxicillin, which also helps with acne. So hopefully that gets better. It hasn't so far, but I've only been on it a few days. But yeah, my tooth area, this left area was hurting. And then when I went to the doctor, my primary care was like, oh, does this hurt? And she's like pressing around the exterior of my ear. And I was like, yeah. She's like, how about right here? How about right here? I'm like, yeah. And so I thought I had dental pain, like my tooth, there's something wrong with my tooth. And she's like, wait a couple days, take this amoxicillin antibiotic. And I bet you your tooth is not going to hurt anymore, because I think it's like an inner, like it hurts in there and it's like coming to your jaw or something, And what do you know? I took the amoxicillin and I don't know how many days I've been on it now. This is day 3 or 4, and all of a sudden I don't have dental pain anymore. She's like, just make sure you're cleaning your teeth well and everything, and if nothing else has changed, I bet you your dental pain will go away, and it did. So yeah, I wasn't sick or anything. I haven't been sleeping really well. Part of that is pregnancy. Like last night, my daughter woke up once. She's 2. She woke up once in the middle of the night, and she was up for, I could have probably been awake total of 10 minutes. Like she just said, I want some water, gave her water and everything, tucked her back in. She said, I want to get up. I said, no, it's still nighttime. Gave her some more water, put her back down, tucked her back in, and then went to bed. Like I could have been back asleep like my husband was within 5-10 minutes, but pregnant girl cannot fall back asleep just like that. So I was probably up an hour and a half. So that greatly, and then I had a 6 a.m. meeting for work. So I had to set my alarm for 5:45, you know, to make sure I had my coffee and my breakfast with me so I could take my call in my office. And then it was just an early morning, and you know, my daughter, the big news with that is she started jumping out of her crib, climbing out of her crib. So we had to switch her to a big girl bed, a toddler bed in a different bedroom. That is wonderful because I was getting the itch to make the baby's nursery, and she was still sleeping in the crib in that room, so I didn't want to like say you can't have this room anymore when she was still sleeping through the night in a crib. But now that she's moved to her big girl bedroom right next door, I got the green light, you know, let's do it. So I have put the changing pad cover on, the sheet on, we got shelf hung, we got the pillow on the chair. I covered the elephant pillow that was my daughter's, and now it's going to be the other theme. A nice blanket on the back of there. And then I got the decal out of the roll it came in from Etsy, and I just used painter's tape to like tape it over the crib where it's going to go. My husband hasn't actually like applied it yet, but it's kind of like in a temporary place. I can just kind of envision the room. Bought some little knickknacks for the shelf, you know, like little things like that. So I am starting to get the nursery together, which honestly is not that much more work. I need him to raise the crib because right now it's at the low edge for like a big kid. He needs to raise it, and we just built up an end table to go next to the rocking chair for like, you know, putting your drink on it or whatever. But I got down the baby toys and the baby books, you know, the ones that are like soft and squishy, or they chew on them, or they have tags, or like 2 or 3 words a page, or black and white, you know, those really baby books. Got those out from storage, and I'm starting to fill her little end table. It's kind of like a 2 cubbies holder thing. And I'm putting those in there so we can have story time with her and get her little rattles and stuff like that. I kind of want to know what I need to wash. I haven't washed a thing yet, but I'm only 29 weeks, you know, like it's still a little early. I don't want it to get dusty. So I'm holding off, but I'm trying to inventory. What do I have? My baby shower or sprinkle is in a couple of weeks, so I want to revise that registry. I looked again today, and nobody has bought a single thing off our Amazon registry for my baby shower, which is fine because I'm still revising it, honestly. A lot of it is like matching sister outfits for the 2 girls and diapers and stuff like that. But there are, you know, a few other practical things that we need. Oh, my voice is doing this. So yeah, the reason I'm so tired is because my daughter's been going to bed later. She's been fighting going to bed. She's been waking up in the middle of the night. A few mornings I had to wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and that was it. She was done sleeping for the day. I called into work a couple times because I just couldn't work on such little sleep, you know. And then we had a weekend in there, and so here we are midweek the next week, and I'm like, all right, I need to get this filmed. My weeks turn over on Sundays, and it's now Wednesday. So it's like, I need to get this filmed. I'm already several days past that. Okay, so let me talk about my 28-week appointment with my doctor. So it's 28 weeks and 4 days. My blood pressure was normal. You know, he gave me the results of my glucose test, even though we already knew. He checked, you know, he said your hemoglobin, your iron was good. So I've been like wanting to chew ice and stuff. He said that was fine. I have a list here on my phone, so bear with me here as I, okay, so I said I've been wheezing a lot when I'm trying to sleep. It's like I lay down and suddenly I'm wheezing. And I do have an albuterol, like regular rescue inhaler for asthma, but he prescribed me, was it Preventa or Advair, an inhaler. And then he said, make sure you rinse your mouth out after you do a puff of it twice a day, because it can give you like thrush in your mouth, like yeast infection. I had the left ear pain on Thursday, and he said, he said I didn't see anything. It was a little bit red, but nothing that he could prescribe me anything for because it didn't seem bad. So then I had to go to my primary care later because it got worse. Insomnia and waking frequently to pee. He just said, limit your fluids after dinner, drink a lot during the day. Acne, he said, I could spot treat with salicylic acid. Now at this point in pregnancy, he said I could just spot treat a couple of spots, and that might help. But then I ended up getting put on amoxicillin for 10 days, so that might help too. Restless legs, he said to take Tums for the calcium and just make sure I was hydrated during the day. For lifting, he said, you're a mom, like limit what you can lift. My daughter's 33 pounds. He's like, but it's okay if you need to lift. For registration at the hospital, I got the form from them and I filled it out and mailed it in. I had to like photocopy my insurance card and all that stuff and mail it to the hospital. So I'm all done with that, should be registered. I mentioned hemorrhoids, and he said preparation H and stool softeners. For kick counts, I asked if I needed to do them or what. or if I should use the Doppler. And he said only if there's a reason, like a change in her movement. If I suspect anything, it's better to go to hospital triage, better safe than sorry, basically because the Doppler will only show you heart rate, it doesn't show you anything else. So like if my fluid is low or if there's another problem, the Doppler, even though she has a heartbeat, like I could just completely go undiagnosed with a big problem, you know? He's like, even for me, the doctor, I would, if I suspected a problem, I wouldn't use the Doppler, I would go right to ultrasound or something else. And then I mentioned the ice chewing, like I just want to eat ice and water all day. And he said, I already checked your iron, it was good, so as long as it's soft and it's not hurting your teeth, that's fine. I got my Rogaine shot, and this was 6 days ago, guys. That bruise is still there. That's because I have a negative blood type, and my husband has positive. All the things I asked my doctor, and then at my next appointment, so they've been like 4 or 5 weeks apart this whole time. My last ultrasound was at 20 weeks or 19 weeks and 4 days for my anatomy scan. And he did tell me we're gonna have one more. He measured my fundal height, and second appointment in a row is measuring ahead. At the last appointment, 4 weeks prior to this one, he said it's a little big, a little ahead. He didn't even tell me a number. This time he said 3 weeks ahead. So it was 28 weeks and 4 days. It was measuring more like 31, 32. And he said, well, we were gonna do another ultrasound anyway. So I'm coming in June 25th, which is about 2.5 weeks, not quite 3 weeks from this last appointment. So my appointments are getting closer and closer together the closer I get to my due date. And we're gonna do an ultrasound first, and then we're gonna have the exam, you know, our normal visit. I'm like, okay. So I got coverage for my mother-in-law, who normally watches my 2-year-old, to come to the ultrasound because she hasn't gotten to see this baby on ultrasound, and she did get to see my 2-year-old when she was in the womb. So I just thought, you know, I'd ask. So my mom said she could watch my daughter so that my mother-in-law could come. I'm like, okay, cool. But, you know, he stressed the ultrasound. He said, there's 2 things we're checking. Normally it's 3, position. He says, but I don't care about her position since you're having a C-section anyway. If she's breech, it's early, she could still change. And honestly, if you're gonna have a C-section, I don't care if she's head down or whatever. He's like, 2, growth, because she might be a big baby. We know for sure, 100% that my dates are correct because 1, I know my dates, but you know, doctors don't believe that. And 2, because my sizing on my first ultrasound was within a day of what I said. And 3, the blood work I had done at 10 days post-ovulation or 10 DPO, I was 21 was my HCG. Like it was like I had barely been pregnant. So we know my dates are right by measuring 3 weeks ahead. But he said for the growth, he's like, maybe you just have a big baby. You didn't have gestational diabetes or anything like that. We just need to measure, you know, be sure. But my daughter was 9 pounds, but she was overdue. So it's hard to say this one's going to be born, even if everything goes according to plan, this baby will be born 13 days earlier than my daughter. So she, instead of 9 pounds, this one could be like 8 pounds or something. And then, he said, so we're going to check growth, not position. And then the third thing is that last at my ultrasound, they noted that the placenta was attached in not so great of a position. And he said it would be very rare. I don't know what that means, 5%, 1%, 20%. I don't know what very rare means to him. If it hadn't moved. However, if it didn't move where he needed it to move, it was attached with like 1 centimeter or something away from my prior C-section incision. And he wants to use that same incision when he opens me up this time to deliver this baby. And so he's like, I need it to move at least 2.5 centimeters or something like that from the original incision line. And it hadn't moved at that point. He's like, doesn't mean it hasn't, but then he explained to me the issue. Now he told me this last time at 20 weeks, but at 19 weeks and 4 days, I was like, okay, like, he's like, but it's very rare and it'll probably move anyway. And then this last appointment, he kind of scared me a little bit. And this was the first appointment in like all 4 pregnancies I've had where my husband wasn't able to come. He had work and stuff and it just didn't work out that day. He had to assemble a bed because our toddler started climbing out and we needed to get it done that day, you know, so he stayed home, was working and then assembled the furniture. And when I got back, the bed was well on its way to being assembled. So my daughter could go to sleep that night. But anyway, so the doctor was scaring me because he said, if the placenta has not moved far enough away from the incision line, we might do another scan. He said, but we may have to do your C-section early. And I'm like, okay, you know, like how early are we talking? He's like, well, normally it's 40 weeks, then it's 39 weeks is when the earliest I can do your C-section. He says, I'm looking more like 36 or 37 weeks. And I was like, oh my gosh. So that means like instead of August 25th due date, we scheduled my C-section for August 19th. He's like, we could be as early as late July. And I'm like, you know, like, oh my gosh, that's so early. And I'm like, why? Like, what's the big deal? Couldn't you just do a different incision or like, you know? And he said, because there's risk of hemorrhaging and we don't want you to go into labor on your own. And the chances of you going into labor on your own before 36 weeks is pretty, like, a lot lower than if I wait till 39 weeks to start the process. And he said, because you have risk of hemorrhaging and you could bleed out. And I was like, okay. Something about like it coming through my cervix and it was like a problem. And he just said, like, we do not want you to go into labor if it isn't in the right position and da, 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 da. So I got a little scared. But yeah, so that was a little spooky. You know, I do not want to have this baby that early because 36 weeks means your chances of having to go to the NICU and having breathing problems or your baby not being ready and needing to have steroids to get it breathing on time, me having to get stuff, it just increases a lot of risks. And I would rather carry this baby to term, or at least the 39 weeks in one day that my C-section was scheduled. I don't love being pregnant, but I actually kind of do. It's like weird. I don't like the early pregnancy. I don't like being nauseous. But right now I'm in that happy medium stage where I'm still able to move around. I am out of breath. I do pee every 5 minutes. I am big, but I like feeling the movements. I like feeling the kicks, and she's moving like crazy. Before I forget, this is 29 weeks and 3 days. Guys, I'm gonna pull my dress like up a little so you can see. But I've got a belly. There's no way around it. You can see it from all angles. I have a big old belly. So yeah, it's definitely there and loud and proud. Cannot be hidden no matter what I wear. I just always look super pregnant. So I'm a little scared about that, about having to possibly go early and have her, but I trust him, and I know that if this risk was worse than, you know, having the baby early was worse than the risk of hemorrhaging and all that stuff, he wouldn't do it. So it must be a serious thing. But again, he said it was very rare that it hadn't moved. So now I'm sitting here like on pins and needles, you know, waiting on the edge of my seat. That is in 13 days from now is when my appointment is. And I'm still waiting to get that ultrasound and find out if it moved how he needed it to. And if she is just a big baby. As far as baby stats are, on the day I turned 29 weeks, I texted myself this. Okay, so 95% chance of survival. This is 29 weeks, not 27 or 28, but as I finished my 28th week. 95% chance of survival outside with, you know, assistance. Acorn squash size, length of a spaghetti noodle, butternut squash, cauliflower, Mr. Potato Head, a winter squash, a puppy, a box of chocolates, a Hawaiian pineapple, a Barbie car, cottontail rabbit, a small cabbage. And then the size was ranging from 14.5 inches to 16.75 inches. It could, most of the apps said like 15.2 inches. Yes, I have several apps. And then for weight, anywhere between 2 and 4 pounds, but most likely between 2.5 and 3.5 pounds. 2.5 to 3.5 pounds. Baby will double or triple weight by birth. The uterus is all the way up to your ribs now, 4 inches above the belly button. Her bones are hardening. Head to body, they're now proportionate, which, you know, when they're first like developing, their head is huge and their little body's like a little tail. She pees 1/2 liter a day into my amniotic fluid, and her digestive system is ready. She can see light. Like, I mean, there's just so many cool things that are going on right now. It's crazy to think though that if I had her now, like 95% chance of survival. I mean, definitely would be like 2 months in the NICU, but I have some Facebook groups that I'm a part of, like August 2019 babies and due dates, you know, and their moms are, now some of them are due like August 1st or something, and so they're 3 weeks early, like farther along than me, and some of them are due August 31st, or they were August 1st, so they joined this August group, and then they ended up getting the due date moved up to end of July. But they're having their babies and posting pictures of their little preemies, and it's like, oh my gosh, that kid lived, or, you know, like, it's amazing to me that kid was 2.5 pounds. Oh my gosh, that's the size of my baby, you know? And I just look at them and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I want to hang on as long as possible, obviously. Have not packed my hospital bag, but I was waiting to get back from our baby moon. We did go on our baby moon. It was lovely. We did a lot of walking, walked to the mall, saw a movie. We did a lot of eating out and bad eating. But yeah, I'm feeling okay. So I think that's everything I needed to update you on. This one was a big one because I had a doctor's appointment in there and, you know, other life updates. I do need to pack the hospital bag, finish the baby registry, like resolving all the little things I need to do. Got registered at the hospital. What else did I need to tell you? I think that's it. Let me know down below what you guys want to see. I am going to do a what's in my hospital bag video once I finish filming it, because my first what's in my hospital bag video is a joke. Like, I didn't use half the stuff and I ended up with a C-section anyway, and I was there a lot longer than I thought. And you know, I thought my husband was gonna like stay in the hospital every day and not go home the whole time, but he did come home, and he's definitely going to come home this time too, because I need him to sleep. I want him to see our daughter, who's 2, and all that stuff. So my C-section is currently scheduled for Monday, August 19th to be there at 10:30, and they're gonna take the baby out at 12:30, and they said by 1 o'clock I'd be holding the baby. And I asked what are the chances it would get rescheduled. They said even if it did, it would be just for later in the day probably, and not like another day. And so my last day of work would be the Friday before August 16th. And that is crazy. But I called my short-term disability place, like for work, and my HR, and I'm trying to get all that sorted out, open a claim, so that all I have to do when I'm in labor or, you know, on that date is call and say, please activate my maternity leave, or whatever you want to call it, short-term disability claim. Here's the claim ID, effective today, or whatever, and birth by cesarean, so that they know how much time I'm eligible for to take off. So I got all that started at least. And there's a discrepancy as far as how many weeks I get at full pay, so I'm still waiting to hear back from my work, like HR, about that, because it used to be 8 weeks for cesarean, and then this lady was trying to tell me it was like kind of like 10, and so now I'm confused. I thought I got 8, but if she's saying 10, but that is at my company, that's like the insurance company, you know what I mean? So I like don't believe it. I want to hear it from my HR person, that I don't want to go without pay and not know that that's going to come and hit me. But also in our family, we've had a couple of divorces and announcements and people separating, and it's just like been a hard few weeks. So it just makes me really grateful to have a partner and a husband who is supportive and excited, and he's been great about like fixing things around the house and helping more with my daughter, and getting up in the middle of the night. If she just needs a cup of water, like he'll try to take her, because if I get woken up, there's a good chance I'll be up for an hour or two, you know? And he's trying to do more of the lifting and things, because I asked my doctor, he said I could do as whatever I needed to do. But my husband's been helping out, like lifting more, since I'm not supposed to be doing too much. Yeah, I'm starting to like get down to like what needs to be done, raise the crib, hang the decal, finish the registry, pack for the hospital, all that stuff. So yeah, I will talk to you guys later, and don't forget to let me know down below in the comments what you guys want to see in this pregnancy series. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.